President Donald Ramotar has availed himself for an interview to talk about a number of current affairs matters of national importance. Thank you very much for joining me, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Today we have seen the city being flooded severely because of overnight heavy rains. What is your reaction to this? I mean, your very office is flooded as well.
Well, first of all, I would like to extend to those people who are affected, particularly in Georgetown, which is most affected, my deep concern and of the inconvenience that they had to put up with, and the business people in the city, in Regent Street and so. However, the rainfall was extremely heavy. You know, over the last night, it was about 6.5 inches of rain that we had in a very short period of time, which obviously would have put a lot of pressure on our systems already. I think probably some of the effects could have been less had we had a better functioning city council. As you know, the APNU manages the city. They are in control of the city at this point in time. And we've seen a lot of neglect that the government has pumped in millions and millions of dollars into the city to try to help. At the moment, we're also doing what we can, moving pumps in to help out to reduce the flooding and take off the water as quickly as possible. But over the years, as I said, we've pumped in a lot of money, bought a lot of equipment, yet suddenly these equipment get very broken up very, very quickly, and they resort back to contracting out and so forth. There seems to be a preference to contract out some of these things instead of doing them themselves, and the equipment constantly keep going down. So while it is true that the rainfall was extremely heavy in a short period of time, I think a lot of it could have been avoided if we had a better functioning city management, and it is the APNU that is in charge of the city at this point in time, and we are doing our best to support and help them with the money, but the management and the governance in the city is extremely poor at this point in time. Something that
will have to be left up to local government elections perhaps for change.
Well, hopefully we could see some of that changing in the near future.
All right, great. I want to talk about one of the biggest issues in Guyana today, the country being blacklisted by the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force for failing to implement the recommendations under the actual bill that was tabled several weeks ago. What is your reaction to this?
Well, it is extremely unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate that this has happened. I have expressed my real regret that the opposition did not rise to the occasion and pass this bill, and has now put our country into serious jeopardy in some ways. In fact, we still do not have a full idea of how much this will affect us. What is very clear, though, is that it's going to increase the cost of doing business internationally, and time in which we do business will be considerably slowed down, which will obviously have an impact on our economy, and that is at the best. At the worst, it can mean much more than that. Because, like for instance, insurance company having to reinsure and so forth, it will be very difficult for them to give mortgages, insure mortgages, houses, etc., etc. So, and the banking system too would be under pressure. Ordinary people who transact business will also find a lot of difficulties. So we will still have to assess how much it will affect us, but it's very clearly that there is nothing positive in this, that it's negative effect on our economy and the way we do business with the rest of the world.
In the interim, the government will have to move for its reintroduction into the House and to implement, I understand, some other measures that could be done without needing to pass the law.
Well, you know, Guyana is unique in another way in that most other countries that have failed to pass the law, it's because of the government's neglect. In our case, the government wants to pass this law. The government wants to fight against money laundering. We want to fight against any kind of financing of terrorism, illegal financing. We are the ones who want to fight against the drug traffickers and them laundering their money and so forth. In our case, it is a situation where the opposition, because they have the one-seat majority in the parliament, that has frustrated the passing of this law. So very, very clearly that it is not the government's neglect. This bill was in parliament since May of last year, and the opposition did everything to frustrate it. So that's one unique thing about our country. Yes, we'll have to take it back to the parliament, so we will have to engage the opposition again very soon, because I would like to see the bill go back as early as possible to the National Assembly to be passed.
All right. The Alliance for Change had said that it would support that bill, the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism bill, on the condition that the Public Procurement Commission is established. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I don't think you should tie the two. The anti-money laundering bill has such a huge national impact that I don't think it should be tied to anything. That it stands by itself, and if anyone has, I think it's more like a patriotic duty to support such a bill because of the consequences of the bill. In dealing with the AFC's talk about the Public Procurement Commission, let me first of all say that this government that brought the Public Procurement Commission into law, into the first instance. All we are asking, this bill was changed on the floor, not by cabinet direction. And all we are asking is that the cabinet of this country should preserve the right to have a no objection, to give its no objection. And that, I think, is eminently reasonable, because if you are going to hold us accountable and if we are going to be the ones to be criticized and attacked about procurement and contracts, etc., at least we should have the right to give our no objections. I am not asking for powers for the cabinet to award contract. All I'm saying is that we must have the right to give a no objection. We are the only country in the Caribbean where the cabinet is not awarding contracts. We are not awarding contracts, and we are not asking to award contracts. We are asking that we have the right to give a no objection to this, to the process at large, for several reasons. But the bottom line is, if you want to hold us accountable for these things, we have to have it. So it is not that the impression is being created we don't want to establish the Public Procurement Commission. We are the ones who passed it into law. We are ready to establish the Public Procurement Commission. In fact, my own recollection of this was passed since the 8th Parliament. And when we tried to set it up immediately after, it was the opposition that dragged their feet and refused to set it up at that point in time. And this is where we are at this point in time. We're ready to set it up, but we want to have our no objection in the bill, as was in the original.
All right. The AFC move brings me to the question of political barter and negotiations. On issues of national importance, I mean, what do you think about that? How do we deal with issues like that?
Well, I'm all for discussing separate things. I'm all like, for instance, you want to discuss the public procurement bill, I'm ready to discuss it. But I think to introduce a blackmail type of politics, and a blackmail type of method in our politics is not healthy for our democracy or for any democracy. If you look at the United States now, one of the major complaints that is being laid against the system there is the power of the lobbyists. The lobbyists are the ones who seem to have the power. Look, for instance, the fact a few years ago that they passed this legislation to knock out the the Latin American, the Caribbean banana, not the Caribbean banana industry, that has killed the banana industry in the Caribbean, was because of lobbying. So introducing lobbying into our laws and into our politics is in a way beginning the undermining of democracy. That is why I am opposed to it. I'm not opposed to discussing and negotiating individual bills, but to say you give me this and I will give you that, that type of thing I don't think is healthy for our society. I am ready to discuss and argue my point. First of all, I must say that there is no problem with establishing the Public Procurement Commission, but we have our concerns too that we think should be taken into account in establishing this commission.
All right, I want to take you away a little bit.
Let me also point out too that the opposition, they're willing to accept international organization having a no objection. For instance, we do a lot of capital works by funds borrowed from the IDB, the World Bank, the CDB, and all of these bodies, they have a no objection in their, before, even though you go out to public tender bids, before you could award that contract, those organizations have to give you a no objections to that. So the opposition is willing to agree with that and accept that, but they don't want to give us, who also in the final analysis, we are the ones responsible to give us the no objection to this bill as well. That's, I wanted to make that point as well.
All right, sure. The government's intended 5% increase, it created quite a lot of stir. The APNU had rejected it, and so did the Guyana Public Service Union. Could you comment on this?
Well, of course, I have come from a trade union background, and I've come from a political party that has been a party of the working class and the working people all the time. And I would obviously like to give much more increase than the 5%. However, there are certain things you have to take into consideration. If our budget has been cut by $32 billion a year, that's $32 billion taken out of our economy on the one hand. If important developmental projects are cut, like the Milo Falls, which would have been about 25% of our GDP, look at the impact that would have had on our economy and the circulation of money within the society, the generation of wealth that it would cause and employment that it can have. The whole question, look, we just talked about the anti-money laundering bill. That can cause jobs for people. If it starts to slow down, some institution might want to lay off people and so forth. The airport expansion, all of these areas that can generate a lot of employment and wealth within our society, the opposition keeps cutting. The union have not said anything about these things, but very clearly it has an impact on our capacity and on the development of our economy. However, at the same time, I would like to point out that the increase that we're given is way above the inflation rate. The half-year economic review that was presented to Parliament, inflation was less than 2%. So it is clearly that you'll have a real increase in wages and salaries for people because inflation has been kept down by good governance within the society, has been kept down at a minimum.
And you have implemented too, not only in this budget, but previous years,
Yeah.
a number of other initiatives that
Exactly.
will help to contribute.
Yeah.
All right. Many are concerned about crime and security in Guyana, and if I were to judge from the naked eye, there would seem to be an increase in violent crimes and so on. And the Minister of Home Affairs had said that he would approach you once again to review gun laws. What are the steps being taken by your administration to address this important issue?
Well, let me first of all say he has not yet approached me on the issue, but I think I understand his concern that many of these persons, that it should not be automatic, that the ministry and the police force should have a right to review these to see that the guns are in hands of responsible people, etc. But it is very worrying, the crime situation, no doubt it is extremely worrying. You know that they had a conference finished 2 days ago or yesterday dealing with this subject, which is a very important topic because there is really no one reason that you can put your finger on. This is the one reason for it. But there are many instances where, of course, there are areas where the police needs to improve on their work. They have better, a greater amount of crimes need to be solved and dealing with these issues. The court system has to be looked at again within our society because, you know, sometimes these cases sometimes takes a long time, sometimes for different reasons. People who, when you seem to have a very, very strong case, you seem to lose it. Like you had different areas, different cases. You had the Luzignan massacre case. You had some other cases in the way that I think we need to look at the judicial system too to see if it's adequate. So I think we have to look at even the whole question of how we remand people to prison. Force offenders being in prison for a long time before their cases come up, and all of these things can have an impact in creating criminals instead of correcting people who have probably gone astray and could be corrected. So I think we have to look at it in its totality. It is indeed a concern, a very big concern for us. It is something that we have to constantly fight against and to look at it in its totality to try to deal with it as much as possible.
All right. I want to take you back a little bit to the issue of political dialogue. I know you've been an advocate, strong advocate for political dialogue and cooperation for development. But recently you had said that you had to re-examine your relationship with the opposition, considering they haven't been a partner, in your words, in development. Do you still feel this way? And considering that their support is necessary to push your development agenda ahead?
Well, they have not, as I mentioned, they have not really given us any clear reason to believe that they are interested in the development of the society. I pointed out from last year when we had our first engagement with them in the 2012 budget that we had agreements that we reached with them and they reneged on them. We had cases like we spoke about some of these already, like the Amila Falls, which we had thought that anyone interested in development, knowing that one of the major constraints we have to have a faster economic growth is the question of cheap energy. And this was a measure that we were tackling to deal with this, which we were not going to have 1 cent of debt to the country. This was merely a both arrangement, private sector investment, and very clearly we thought it was a good model not to add any debt to the country as such, and to have them vote against that, of course, will shake your confidence that if you have partners for development. And then most recently, we're cutting things like hospital, the specialty hospital, cutting airstrips in the interior that can help the economy in the interior area. All of these things, and then finally they're exposing the country to a lot of negative features when you didn't vote for the anti-money laundering bill, has really put into question whether they're interested in development at all. However, of course, Parliament is still one of the highest forum of our country, and in which we have to pass laws and so forth. So we will have to work with the opposition, but as I've said, I had hoped that I'll be working with a willing partner who was ready to have the development of our country as their most important goal, but very clearly from all I've seen that that does not seem to be their priority.
Do you have a new strategy of working with them? Because previously we would have seen, though you have approached that strategy of working with them, many of your projects were still cut. Is there a new strategy? How are you moving forward?
No, we have to work on them with issue by issue. Hopefully that we can we can, as I said many, many times in discussions with the opposition, I thought that we would have had understanding and agreements. It is not true as what they're saying that we didn't give them information in the hydropower situation. We give them they know as much as we do because we have given them everything as far as that is concerned. We have discussed that in the full. As far as this anti-money laundering bill is concerned, they also know fully about it. These are the region trying to cut out any loophole for anti-money laundering, so everyone will have similar kind of laws within its system to stop it. We are also setting up, they're talking about the whole question of implementation. They know that we're setting up mechanism in order to try to do a greater kind of monitoring and strengthen the investigative arm in dealing with many of these issues. They know all of these things. So I would say that we still have to work with them on a issue by issue basis. But I had hoped that we would have had a greater understanding for national development for us to proceed, so that we could have had a greater kind of partnership, which just seems to have they seem to have turned their backs on for narrow political gains, it appears, parties and political positions.
What is your level of optimism? Are you confident that you can effectively carry out the mandate that the people of Guyana has bestowed upon you?
Well, the confidence that I have stems from the fact that I everywhere I go, and all the people that I interact with in the different parts of this country, I get a strong feeling that the people want these projects. They see that these are important for our country. And I think that we have the support of the vast majority of people on these issues, like the Amila Falls, like the anti-money laundering, like the airport, all the expansion work that we've done. We're trying to work on building a new bridge across the Demerara River. And so I get the impression that the vast majority of people in this country would like to see these things come into fruition and to work towards them. And therefore, that is what has given me the optimism that in the final analysis, the will of the people will come true. And I know that they support these projects that we have and that we're pushing on with.
Is there a message that you would like to give to the people of Guyana at this time?
Well, I just want to say that I want to thank them for the support that they have given to us in difficult times, for their understanding of the difficulties and the new situation that we face and the challenges that these pose, and to say that I continue to look forward to the support of the broad masses of people to help us and to push our country forward, so that we don't return to the days when we had no growth and when things were extremely difficult in our country, economically, socially, and otherwise. That we should continue the path that we are on and even work towards accelerating the pace of growth within our society.
All right, great. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, this has been a special interview with President Donald Ramotar. I am Janelle Prasad. Thank you for watching.